Welcome back to the Sensing Self podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Allison, and today we're talking about something that almost every empath or highly sensitive person has said at some point. I feel too much and I care too much. And underneath that statement is a quiet desire to not care so much, to stop getting your heart so wrapped up into things that you feel like you're always the one getting hurt. But here's the thing. Feeling too much and caring too much is actually a symptom of a bigger problem. If you're here listening to this today, I have a feeling it's for a reason, and I have a feeling you're ready to fully understand what the bigger problem is so that you can change. Today's episode is going to give you that process because believe me, I've been there. I've been there so bad that I actually developed a system that I pray will really, truly help you as it has helped me. So if you're ready to learn about that bigger problem behind you caring and feeling too much, plus start to create lasting change in your life so you can still be that highly perceptive, caring person that feels everything, but doesn't do so at the cost of your own energy, then lean in, listen up, and increase the volume because today's episode is for you. Listen, unmanaged perception will always create overwhelm, distortion, and burnout. What I mean by this, if you are someone who feels other people's mood, the vibe of the room, and you pick up on the things that most people miss, but you don't have a system for processing all that you pick up on, you will burn out. You'll start doubting yourself, you will confuse anxiety with intuition, and eventually you will try to shrink your sensitivity just to survive life. Not because your sensitivity is the problem, but because you were never taught how to structure it. That's the real issue. The problem isn't that you feel too much. The problem is that you don't have a perceptual framework. And perception without framework becomes chaos. That's what we're unpacking today. Let's actually name what feeling everything looks like in real life because it sounds poetic, but it doesn't feel poetic when you're living in it. It looks like chronic mental fatigue, even when your day wasn't that busy. Overanalyzing conversations, thinking about what you said, what they meant, what shifted. Replaying interactions hours later, sometimes days later. Emotional hangovers after completely normal situations. Needing to isolate to regulate, not because you want to disconnect, but because it's the only way to quiet the noise. And one of the biggest ones, confusing anxiety with intuition, thinking something is off when really your system is just overloaded and trying to make meaning out of too many signals at once. This is what happens when your system is detecting everything but has no way to sort what actually matters. Because here's the key, not all signals are relevant. My guides always tell me being open, being receptive is one thing, but receptivity is another. Receptivity requires selectivity. You have to be picky. You have to choose. You have to give permission. Just because you can feel everything doesn't mean everything needs to feel you or have access to you. When you have a system, you have a process of selection. You have a way to access receptivity, not just through being open, but through knowing what needs to land and what needs to float on by. When you don't have that, your brain and body will register every tone shift as important, every emotion as yours to process, every interaction as something you need to decode, and your nervous system will stay activated. Not because you're weak or too sensitive, but because you have no process of filtering out the noise. And that process is a skill. And this is the part that no one teaches, but today we are going to get into it. Many people talk about how to protect your energy, but they don't teach you how to filter what even needs protection in the first place. So you end up trying to manage everything instead of learning how to discern. And that's where the exhaustion comes from. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because a lot of sensitive people, even when they hear this, still resist structure. And it's usually for one reason. They associate structure with rigidity. They think, if I add structure, I'm going to lose my intuition. If I systematize this, I'm going to be less natural. If I put rules around it, I'm going to block my gifts. But this is a misunderstanding. Structure does not suppress sensitivity. Structure stabilizes it. Think about it like this. If someone has a natural music talent, but they never learned timing, rhythm, or control, their talent sounds chaotic. But when that same person trains, they don't lose their talent. They gain precision. They gain range. They gain control over when and how they use it. It's the same with sensitivity. Right now, for a lot of you, your perception is running you. You walk into a room and your state changes based on what's there. You talk to someone and your energy shifts based on their tone. You feel something and you're distracted mid-conversation because your system doesn't have a process of filtering through what's important and what's not. All of that is reactivity. Structure is what shifts you out of reactivity and into leadership. I want you to think of a famous psychic medium on stage like Teresa Caputo. She feels so much through her body. You hear her saying things like, I feel goosebumps through my body, which means your loved one is moving through right now. How do you think she learned to stand in front of thousands, feeling so much and not getting overwhelmed? She has a system of filtering out what's necessary information and what's not. That's what so many of you listening today really need. So let's talk about how you create and work with that system. Because I'm not talking about rituals. I'm not talking about saging your house every day, cutting cords constantly, or doing energy protection practices. Those things are important, but they are different from having a system of processing what you pick up on. A system is a repeatable internal process that you can run in real time in your everyday life. So instead of asking, what is happening right now? Why do I feel like this? Is this mine? What does this mean? You already know what to check. Like I've said before, this takes you from being a pilot who sees some bad weather out the window of the plane and tries to control the weather to being a pilot who knows how to run their radar system, take the plane off autopilot, and get to the destination safely. A system will take you from rookie to pro with your abilities. The system I'm about to describe, I teach in depth with my students in the Sensing Self method, but let's just touch on it briefly. The first part of the system is developing baseline, which means, what do I feel like when I'm just me? Once you feel that and you can tune into the energy of you very easily, then you can easily feel you and your energy even in the presence of others. The second part of the system is differentiation. Is this mine or not mine? So when you feel a tickle in your throat, is it dryness in the air or is it a message? Is the message for you or is it for someone else around you? The third part is understanding distortion. Is what am I picking up on? Is it clear or is it mixed with fear, projection, or suffering? Fourth is emotional and energetic charge. This one is huge for empaths. It's about asking yourself, is there activation in my body that needs to be discharged? One of the methods I teach is called The Body is the Bridge for exactly this reason. When you're an empath, you often act as a channel, as a bridge. This is why you feel so much. You're picking up on unprocessed emotion that's still cycling in the air. And energy seeks resolution. It wants to move. It wants to land. And when you can perceive it, you can complete that loop. Empaths act as a conduit for that charge. You close the circuit, but you're not meant to hold the charge. You're meant to process it and release it. Next week, I'm going to go deeper into this on the podcast, so make sure you come back and tune in. But let's keep going. The fifth and final part of the system is what I call return. Can I come back to center without carrying this forward? That's why this podcast and my program are called The Sensing Self. It's twofold. As a highly perceptive person, there is a part of you that is sensing everything. That is the sensing self. But the other part is returning to yourself, learning how to feel you, sense yourself, even in a room full of people. So that's the walkthrough of the full 5-part system. Like I said, I go into all of this in depth with training and drills and practices that you can implement in your real life in the Sensing Self program. But this is what a system does. It reduces cognitive load, because right now, if you don't have this, your brain is trying to process everything manually. Every interaction becomes a puzzle. Every feeling becomes something you have to analyze, and that's exhausting. But when you have a system, you don't spiral, you don't scan, you don't overthink, you orient. And this is where the Sensing Self method becomes so powerful, because it's not about shutting anything off. It's about giving your perception structure so it can actually function cleanly. We've covered a lot in today's episode. I suggest you bookmark this one, come back to it, listen to it again, and take notes. But if you take nothing else from this episode, let it be this. If you feel everything, you don't need less sensitivity. You don't need to care less, not at all. The world needs more big-hearted people like you, especially right now. What you really need is a system for processing what you feel, because perception without a system will always exhaust you. And being a highly perceptive person without proper training will always feel like a burden when it's meant to be a gift. But the moment that you stop trying to survive your sensitivity and you start training it, everything changes. You stop absorbing everything, you stop questioning everything, you stop carrying what was never yours, and you start leading. That's the shift. That's the work that we do inside the Sensing Self. It's not about managing emotion, it's about training your perception. So your sensitivity actually becomes a skill that you can use and grow with. That's what I have for you today. Next week, we are talking about how to stop holding energy. So make sure you follow the podcast and come back to tune into that one. If you want to learn more about the Sensing Self program or how to work with me one-on-one, take a look at the link in the show notes, and I will see you in the next episode.